I was thinking about what philanthropy meant to me, and I think it's just about doing good, and that's what QCF is. It's got funds under management that continue to do good for generations to come. I believe that the fundamental manifesto of any business is to make communities better. You know, the profit at the end of the day is a consequence of how good you are at making communities better. And I can say that with some conviction because I used to be a CEO. So, you know, when making profit and turning it into a material, monetary value as an indictment of your success was the thing that measured it. But it's so much more than that.
Of course, she would say, you know, she has a lot of help and support from others, but she's the leader of it. She's the one who inspires people to join in, and she's incredibly inclusive and clever in the ways that she encourages other people to give.
It was a very middle-class upbringing, and we didn't have the discretionary spend to be able to be philanthropic per se. It wasn't a word that was ever used in the genre of when I grew up. All I ever saw was my parents giving money to the salvos, which I think is a very typical 70s kind of indication of a child growing up on the Gold Coast. That it doesn't matter if the salvos were on the street corner, my mum would always stop my dad and give them something. And I was trying to recollect, you know, where did this come from? Because it certainly wasn't part of my upbringing. We weren't trained on philanthropy at school. You know, it wasn't as big an issue as it is these days when our beautiful children have this wonderful philosophy being instilled in them, how important it is to be kind and to give to those who are less fortunate. So I kind of think I fell into it. I think it was just one of those things that I was attracted to organisations like Zonta International, and they were doing good. Not so much being philanthropic, just doing good. And I loved the camaraderie of the other people that I met through those organisations, and one thing led to another, and I think it culminated in when I purchased Hamworth House, and it was ravaged in an arson attack a few months later, and I just saw how good the community was to me, and it was almost by osmosis that I came to think about, well, how can I give back to that community? I think QCF is really like a shining light about this is an organisation that both combines the monetary exchange of doing good, but also the very kind of non-monetary applaud of those who are actually trying to live that ethos in a day-to-day sense.
It is becoming more sophisticated, though, I think, in Australia too, philanthropy. It's a word we use a lot more.
True.
You know, I think that the importance of awards like this and recognition, it's been said many times, but it sets a shining example and it lifts us all up. Absolutely. Look, every time someone speaks to me in warm, admiring terms of you know, a colleague or a friend, I say, well, why did you nominate them?
I think we've seen a lot through the bushfires and with COVID about a lot of people doing a small amount each. I think that's a really great message going forward, and I think that kind of enables people to be harboured that are doing small amounts of good, because a lot of small amounts of good is an enormous amount of good, and it doesn't have to be the big donors and the big things that are unachievable in their own right, but a lot of people doing a small amount makes them very achievable.
Many more people now are proud to identify as philanthropists. Many I know like to do it very quietly, and I like them to be known, and their generosity to be known, because it does set an example, and it is a responsibility for us all.
Philanthropy must remain a significant focus of all of our lives. It's what gives our life purpose. It may look quite different in the next 10 years, but lo and behold, it will certainly be, I think, very much firmly in our sights, and should be.
I'm not trying to get the last word from the recipient, but as you talk about this, I think we have to remember it's about fun and friendship and good times and inspiration, and you know, the inspiration to be the best you can be.